Whatever is speaking to you in the moment, Ben.
Okay.
You just say it out of your mouth, and then you just kind of let
Oh,
it.
we're good. We're already recording, so this
Yeah.
will all be on there too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome to Runnah. I'm running on Cape Cod. I'm Ben, and this is Juliana. Today we're flipping the script to talk about her recent Watuppa 50K trail race. And we have some questions lined up, and a little bit of discussion,
Yeah.
and we're going to cover a number of points. But first, before we dive into that, the feud. Let's talk
The
about it.
feud.
The feud.
The feud that was started by Ben's family,
I
more or
don't think they
less.
started that. I think I started it. So here's what happened. I accidentally started the feud with Juliana that I found out about.
At your wedding.
Yeah, at my wedding. And Nicole and I got married, what was that, 2 weeks ago now? And
Yeah.
we had a blast,
It was
except
great.
Juliana comes up to me afterwards and she's like, I didn't realize you were so angry about my performance in this trail race. And that was news to me because I don't feel angry on, a core level at all. But it turns out the word salty doesn't mean what I think it does.
Hmm.
So I had said to several people, I'm a little salty. Well, we should go over the context. Like,
Yeah.
you had a pretty good performance, and what was the result?
I won the Watuppa 50K for the ladies
Yeah,
specifically, during which you were telling me we were in third place and we crossed the finish line learning we were in first. And I was like,
an effective strategy.
It's a good mental strategy to have,
hmm
you know.
No, I was
Um,
simply incorrect. You were in first place in the ladies' race,
yeah.
and briefly in the top 10 as well.
Yeah, and we didn't know it, but that's okay.
hmm
And like my goal wasn't to finish in any, I just wanted to finish, so that's fine.
hmm
And I was just happy to finish. But the funny thing was like when we finished, I was surprised by your comment because you were acting like just a little bit salty then too, just like because you came up to me and said something along the lines of, "I can't believe you won." I was
Yeah,
like,
I was genuinely surprised. As I told her, I thought she was in third place, so I
yeah,
literally couldn't believe she won. But
yeah,
no, I wasn't angry at all. I think it was an interesting experience to be on the sideline of, because, we'd been running together and then I kind of,
mm-hmm,
drifted away when you
mm-hmm,
were coming across the finish line,
mm-hmm,
because I was not finishing and didn't need to go over the chip timer. So
yeah,
just made an exit and went and got some pickle juice, which was delicious.
mm-hmm,
And yeah, I don't know. We can circle back to this too, but it's been a lesson for me in just how what you say is interpreted by other people. And I think this has
yeah,
been a solo endeavor for me for so long that I'm not really used to talking about it. It's like how I don't know road names. I don't know where I was running. I never needed to tell anybody about it. And so
mm-hmm,
it's been a little bit that experience of like, oh, what you say and how you say it matters not only in how you say it, but
mm-hmm,
also in how it's received by other people. So I'd like
yeah.
to say, I apologize if I seemed angry. I'm not at
Oh no,
all angry.
I think this whole thing is hilarious.
All right.
I was laughing the entire time.
Good. I think, if anything, I feel a sense of pride for your effort, having participated in it to a small degree. And I thought you did really, really well. I think it's interesting the way in which you won. As you said, you
Yeah.
weren't really trying to win. You didn't care
No.
about placement. Now
My
we
we
can
were
circle back to that later too. But what were you
yeah.
gonna say?
I was gonna say we were joking that I would probably come in top six because last year there were only six ladies who even ran the 50K.
Yeah, and I thought that was like an interesting attitude with which to begin a race. I think
Yeah.
I start from a very different. Well, I don't know. I thought I started from a very different place. Now I'm not so sure.
Mm. I feel like this is gonna be an introspective episode for both of us,
Oh,
Ben.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This is definitely always going to be an introspective episode, but
The mental catharsis that we needed
yeah.
to like
Um,
really dive into that.
well, yeah, so just to put the record straight, there is no feud. I'm not angry at Juliana for winning a race. She worked really hard for it, and it was a pleasure to help out and pace her for the last 30K of that 50K effort. I had a really good time. It was an awesome course. The volunteers were fantastic, and
Yeah.
um, so only good memories for me. And
Same. Yeah.
yeah,
There's no feud in either direction. It's just,
yeah.
it's more or less both of us kind of laughing at the way your family interpreted what you
Well, I
said.
don't want to put my family on the spot because it was family and friends at this event, and
Yeah.
like I don't know what was said or who said it, but the joke I'd been trying to make was that it's like you scratch lottery tickets for years, and then you give your friend one, and they won $20 on the first ticket, and it's like, darn, I either A, shouldn't have given them that lottery ticket because then I could have won it, or B, like they haven't scratched them long enough, and there's some like preconceived notion of how hard you have to work. And
Mm-hmm.
all of that ignores the fact that you've been running 80-mile weeks all summer,
Yeah.
all spring.
And the fact that like I'm not expecting to win anything else and wasn't expecting to win this either. Like there was zero expectations for like coming up like with any of this.
So even the joke I tried to make lacked context. And I think when you tell people who also lack context a joke that lacks context, you redouble the lack of
double
context.
lack of context.
And meaning ceases pretty quickly. So I don't want to put anyone on the spot. It's nobody's fault but my own. I apologize. There is no feud, and we've clearly
you can just apologize to the general world, because I think this is very funny. I find it hilarious.
So with that now fully behind us, let's move on to the trail race. And can you just give us an overview of what you did? I see you're wearing the t-shirt.
I have the t-shirt on. We have the Watuppa 50K because we got if you finished, you got a t-shirt. Well, if you showed up, you got a t-shirt. You finished the 30K and 50K, you got a lovely little medal that's not shaped like that is the shaved off stump of a tree.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you got a wood.
Yeah, I got a wood medal.
Well, is it still a medal or is it just a wood?
Oh yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because a medal is named after a medal. This is a good observation.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Yeah, that's why Ben is working hard and making all those monies. Just really living that high life over here. Yeah, I think I did. I received a wood. I also received a stump.
Oh yeah, that's true. You got a stump and a wood.
I got a stump and a wood.
Yep. 2 parts of the tree.
Yep. I'm now the proud owner of at least an eighth of a tree. It was funny because I was telling people that I won, and like they're expecting like I won prize money and like a big trophy and stuff. And I'm like, I have a stump, and they're like, what? I'm like, I have a stump.
That was probably in the way on the trail when they cleared it. It was probably some tree refuse.
I would imagine it probably was.
I love the spirit of the place. They're just giving away parts of the trail, and so it was a fundraiser, is my understanding.
Yeah, it was a fundraiser that I believe went to the Watuppa Reservation, which is where this race was taking place. And they gave a little speech that you missed at the beginning. The guy was very passionate about the trail and like how they really like renovated it. And I mean, it goes to kind of speak for itself how like well drained the trail was too, because that's something they were talking about too. They built in like drainage systems into that trail,
which became important.
Yes, especially as we were like trespassing through the trail. I say trespassing like it was actually like trespassing. We were running.
Well, that's an interesting word. I think you've taken trespassing and traipsing and put them together into something slightly illegal and a little bit fun. Yeah,
trespassing it is that.
We trespassed pretty hard.
We trespass first and then we.
But as long as you're not trespassing with intent, it's I'm told it's fine. So.
Innocent trespassing.
Yep.
Well-spirited trespassing. That's what it was.
Yep. Awesome.
But yeah, the trail itself and the race was like you said, very well run. They did have the 10K and the 30K and the 50K options. Obviously, I did the 50K. I was planning on maybe getting out to the course to run it beforehand. As you do with someone with ADHD, we didn't get that far.
It's good to have goals.
Yeah, I had goals. We didn't reach them in that respect for things. So,
do you think it would have changed anything?
Honestly, no, I don't think so, because I feel like it was close enough to the terrain of the trails around here, to be honest, where I felt like fully prepared.
It was just over in Rhode Island, right?
We were in, where were we? New Bedford, like that area?
So it's still Massachusetts?
Yeah, I think we were still in Massachusetts.
That was pretty bleary-eyed going over there. It was early in the morning.
Too early for you.
It's before 10.
Yes, way too early. Ben like did the ultimate sacrifice and woke up early.
Before 10.
Before 10 a.m. And actually got out of bed and got dressed, and was like,
and
whoa.
Then Nicole drove, which was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicole, for driving. But no, it was. I felt like prepared when it came to the terrain, and I mean, I was very happy for that, because as you do, as being a Juliana, you don't really look at the elevation profile of the race beforehand.
That's the way to sign up for these things. Do not look at the elevation profile.
Don't even think about it.
After you've paid the money, then look.
Or after you've even run the race. Or even when your friend sends you a run to go on up in Williamstown, you then look at the elevation after you're finished, and you're like, yes, I do. Yes, that was quite a bit of elevation right there. And you say, But yeah, I feel like the trail itself wasn't anything like crazy. The route itself is like the trails were very open.
Like very wide.
Yeah, very wide. And I would say pretty well manicured for the most part.
Hmm.
There wasn't really anything there's a little bit of single track that was happening, but even the single track was pretty well
Yeah, towards the end of
manicured.
that loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the structure of the course was,
Pretty flat, I would say, for a trail run,
well, I mean,
honestly.
like how many loops, what was the
Oh,
length?
yeah, good point, Ben.
That's all right.
10K loops.
Hmm.
So we did 5 10K loops. I did 5, you did 3.
Yeah, and it was kind of a figure eight with an aid station at the cross and the start and
Hmm.
finish. So you saw people at 2 points.
Yep.
I don't know. I felt like the aid was very ample for that race.
I felt like it was more than really honestly was needed, to be
Hmm.
honest. Like, and I understand like there were technically 3 aid stations on a loop just because one of them you passed through twice because of the X
That's
spot.
true. Yep.
So they really were only manning 2 aid stations.
Hmm.
The volunteers, there were not like tons of them, but they were like very enthusiastic. Like
Yeah.
they all were
Yeah, I
great.
felt like it was a good first trail race for anyone, not
Yeah.
like you could have even done the 10K as a first trail race and really had a great time without ever
Hmm.
having to suffer too much.
That was actually Andy's first trail race ever.
No, no kidding. How do you
Yeah.
like it?
He said it was great. He's actually, I was talking to him the other day. He's like, I think I might like to do an ultra. I was like, you really don't have to. Like, just because I'm doing it doesn't mean that you have to. He's like, but I might like to. I'm like, if you'd like to, that's fine, but you don't have to do it. Like, I fully understand that I'm a like completely different brand of crazy from a lot of
Well,
other
you met this
people.
guy running marathons. He's already
Yeah.
there, so
Yeah.
just push him a little bit.
Yeah, and he's running another marathon in a couple of months too. So,
Nice.
it's a possibility. We'll see. But yeah, I feel like for anyone who was looking to do their first trail race, like this would have been a really great option
Hmm.
because it was just very, very low key, easy to get to for the most part.
Yep.
Just aid stationed, possible.
Yeah. Very well aided.
Well aided. It's well aided. It's just like it's like a. I was trying to make a lemonade joke right there. I was gonna say like lemonaded, but that's more like laminated.
Yeah, I think we'll just let that one rest there.
This is what happens when you and I go running, Ben. Too. Ben just like is like,
She's
Juliana.
dehydrated. Don't worry.
I did have some. I did just drink some liquids, so
Mm.
with some salt in it.
Yeah,
So
I think from what I heard from the organizers too, they were pretty generous about if you wanted to switch up your distance, you're feeling good after the 10K, go for, what was it, 30? If you're feeling
30K.
good after the 30, you want to go for the 50. They weren't going to split hairs with you over that. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think as good adjustable races go, it's hard to find races with that amount of flexibility where you can pass by your car, your pack, and just call an
yeah.
audible when you get there about how you're feeling. So
Well, that was the other thing too. Is like cars were parked like right near where the
hmm.
start finish line area was. So like if you wanted to, and we saw one of
Yeah,
the ladies
some
pulling
folks.
off, you could use your car as an aid station too.
Yeah.
So
Seemed like the move there was to actually pull past, like a little
yeah.
further down the
Hmm.
road, and then bypass this, like go through the start and finish. Don't
Hmm.
stop at that aid station. Stop at your car, and
Yep.
then you would be on the course. And
Hmm.
it was very casual that way. So I don't know. Nice race if you're looking for a race.
Yeah.
How do you spell Watuppa? Watuppa.
You're the one who can read my shirt better than I
I've been
can.
trying to put an H in that for the longest time, and there is no H.
I've been trying to spell it with 2
Kind of a
T's.
Watuppa. Yeah. No, just Watuppa. Like Watupperware.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what Tupperware tea
What
is
Tupperware?
what you're wearing now.
Yeah, this is a what Tupperware tea. You can wear the what Tupperware tea.
And we're on fire.
You're just killing it left and
It's
right
the
today.
endorphins. It's what helps.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, but very well run. I
Mhm.
really enjoyed the race. I thought it was just, like you said, a very good entry race for someone who's looking to do any kind of distance on a trail.
Mhm.
So we give it a 10 out of 10.
All right, so that's the context. And
Mhm.
you've said already that you didn't go into this expecting to win it. It wasn't your goal. You jokingly mentioned it at the podium, but only because there were
We
so few
beat de
people entered.
facto.
But it actually seemed like a pretty good crowd. I don't remember the total number of female entries, but it was not as little as I think you feared.
Yeah, I think there were a few more people than we
A
anticipated.
couple of people, it sounded like, had opted in day of,
Yeah.
and just made that
Yeah.
their training run.
Yeah, we had those 2 ladies who were both training for 100 milers, and one of them had
Hmm.
opted in day of to make it a training run for herself.
Yep.
Which, I mean, doesn't make her any less competitive,
Yeah.
But it definitely is just like, I feel like that's kind of that flexibility that trail runners have, where they're just like, I just felt like running today.
I might run a dandy race today.
I'm go, no, it's time for a good old race in the good old
Yeah.
woods.
Snacks look good. Let's try this thing.
Cheerio.
Good snacks. Pickle juice.
Yeah,
Big jug of pickle juice. I
Yeah,
love
they had
that.
the pickle juice like ready to
I
rock
probably
and
had
roll.
one too many pickle juices.
Yeah, you're like living up pickle juice high.
It was that third shot I knocked back at the end. It was
Mm.
just, I felt myself get literally salty. And
Uh-huh.
therein lies my confusion because salt is actually a great thing. And to be salty to me feels like,
You're like,
oh,
I've hit a good like
I'm ready
zone.
for another lap. I'm salty.
I'm salty. I'm salted up.
But
It's like,
yeah, I guess the meaning is different than that. Anyways, we digress.
you should have just said pickle juiced.
Yeah, I'm pickle juiced up for the next race.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
Then
would have
people would
thrown
have
him.
really interpreted that correctly.
It's
Because,
more of a dill.
yeah. And instead of like a gherkin or or a sweet and sour pickle, maybe.
Yeah, no pickle chips here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's not get off track because pickles sound delicious right now.
They kind of do.
Yeah, so your goals going in, you weren't expecting to win. You weren't even really racing. You had a very steady pace the entire time. I think we were within about 30 seconds
I looked back. We were like 9 to 9:30,
the whole time.
the entire time,
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you know me well enough, Ben, with like my running style. I'm the human metronome between the
Well,
two of us.
and you really saw it in the people around us because we'd pass people and then people would kind of surge. Like the people around us were much more up and down.
Yeah, there's a lot more variability in their pace too.
Right.
So
Which is interesting. I think there's something to be said for the metronome. I guess what was really interesting to me is you didn't seem that competitive with the people around you.
No, I mean, I fully understand that taking on an ultra distance is like a whole different beast than running a marathon, and I've never been competitive at running a marathon either. So, like, I mean, what is there to tell me that like I would be competitive in like the ultra scene more or less? I know we've had the conversation of me being like, I feel like I run okay, and you'd be like, Juliana, for a trail or ultra, you run kind of fast, and me being like, I don't think so, and you being like, the other people just run really slow, and me being like, ah, okay, maybe, comparatively speaking. But like, yeah, I didn't really have any goals going into this except just to finish because this is the first time I've ever run that far. And like, we had the conversation while we were running of like, oh, you've never run this far before. Like, we've already tipped before we finished, obviously, tipping into zones that I had never even been in. And just like
What it feel
having,
like?
honestly, I think we had this conversation when we were running too. Like, I didn't feel like too out of my comfort zone. Like, I felt worse a lot worse on some of the training runs that I did, which I mean, just goes to speak to that I did like a good amount of training and that training put me in a good spot for the race. But like, it felt like just like good to be able to do that. And I don't know, I just didn't feel there wasn't really anything crazy happening with my body that like I haven't experienced at a lower distance already or in training. So there really wasn't anything like unpredictable happening. And I could feel the only thing that was kind of like I could feel would be a problem if I was going to keep running further than that is that the balls of my feet were kind of getting a little bit like tired.
You know, which shoe did you choose to use in this?
We chose the Puma Deviate 2.
Yeah, and that's a little bit what I've noticed in that shoe is the insole is so thin.
Yeah.
That for me, what happened was I got rocks stuck in that mesh, and then those rocks started to wear hot spots under my feet, exactly where you're talking about. And I'd be very curious if you dump those shoes out, if you don't have a small collection of pebbles in there.
Probably. Also, I think you're exactly right in the fact that like I feel like those shoes would keep working for me, but I would need a different insole.
Yeah,
like something more plush insole.
Definitely a shoe that thrives with a replacement insole. If you're in the Deviate 2 right now, try ripping out the Puma insole and put in perhaps the Curex Medium Profile Run Pro.
Yeah, which I do have at home.
Yep.
I definitely could. I actually had brought those with me too. They were in my car with another change of shoes.
It doesn't become an issue. It's not an issue. But that is exactly the point where I noticed in my race,
around like 30-ish miles.
About 31, 32 miles. I was pretty anxious to get them off.
Yeah, when we finished, I was like physically, I was feeling like I could do another lap, which was great.
Right.
Did I mentally want to do another lap? No.
Yeah.
Could I have done another lap? Yeah.
You mentioned a little bit in the hips too.
Yeah, my hips were being a little bit kind of creaky, but honestly, no more than they really are on like a normal day.
Yeah, your hips were a little creaky today too.
Yeah, when we were running, I get my weird like spaghetti leg thing, so it's kind of like
it's probably something to do with that bananas foot strike you've got.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Slicing through the side and like flipping in.
Yep, you could cut cake with that foot strike.
Yeah, multiple cakes, and probably like a pineapple and a coconut too. You know,
like the katana. Yeah, for the listener, Juliana begins her stride with a downward slicing motion.
Like pinky toe
Yep.
forward. Lead
And
through the
then
pinky
like
toe.
kind of a figure eight, like I
Phew,
don't know how you do it,
phew.
but I think it's what's given rise to the shoe eating monster nickname.
Yeah.
It's what happens to your shoes is that outside lateral edge just really gets chewed up.
Yeah.
Um,
Really quickly.
mhm.
Really, really, really quickly. But yeah, no, I feel like we had this conversation too. I feel like that was the correct shoe choice
Oh, sure.
because there was definitely a little bit of road that we were on.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I didn't know like how much cushioning I was gonna want. And like I've done all my training runs in those shoes too. So
How many
they
miles were there? Excuse me. How many miles were there when you started?
probably like 70 maybe.
Yeah.
So
Kind of
no,
middle life.
yeah, because I had worn them for 26 Point True.
Hmm.
And then they were maybe had like 2 or 3 training runs on them before that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably around like 70-ish miles, I
That's
would
a really nice
estimate.
shoe, though.
I am a well-known #1 fan of the Puma DV8
Mm-hmm.
So,
Not as big a fan of the 3.
I haven't even tried the 3 yet because I just really love the 2 and it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Like I have no reason to go to the 3
Yep.
and pay more money for a shoe that I don't know if I like as much.
Yeah, the tread pattern was not as good, and I feel like the way they bent the plate now, it comes
Mm.
up right between the toes, and I'm
Oh,
getting
does
like
it?
jabbed on the underside of the big toe. I mean,
Oh.
partly they were at like 270 miles, but still it's 270 miles, not 350 or 400.
Yeah, and that's you in a shoe and not me.
Right, a little bit gentler.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I Deviate 2, strong recommend.
Yeah.
Seemed like a good shoe for you.
It was a really good. I stand behind that. That is the ultimate road to trail shoe.
Yeah,
The
and
Puma
I used
DV2.
them in the first 30 miles of Jigger Johnson, and
Yeah.
they were awesome. I was like running up boulders around people, and the tread is so sticky on the bottom
The
that
Puma
you
grip
can
is no
almost do
joke.
what you want. The only
Yeah.
time I went down was on pea stone.
Oh yeah.
It was
Well, I
like
mean,
pea
like,
stone on sandstone. And, oh, here's a little friend. Get out
oop,
of here,
we got a
buddy.
worm.
Bombing the interview.
Boom. The worm has an opinion to share on shoes.
Yeah, 1 inch at a time.
Who the fuck
Get
you
out of here,
think you
buddy.
are? He's still there.
Yeah, he's hanging from the tree, so I'm just
Oh.
gonna let him hang out, I
Yeah.
think.
Now he's attached himself to your shirt. Oh,
Yeah,
never mind. He's going flying somewhere else.
yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you parachute into an interview. Anyways, we're getting distracted. But we covered the shoes.
Yeah.
We
So
covered the
this.
race, but I mean, where we really started was with competition. Like, what does competition mean to you?
Yeah. I mean, like, I have a history of being a semi-competitive person
Mm.
as one of 4 children.
Mhm.
Like, it's just kind of
Was
innate.
attention hard to get?
It possibly. Yeah, possibly. Is that why you're so loud, Juliana? Maybe. But yeah, definitely I have a history of being like a semi-competitive person. Like if you hit me from the right angle, I'll be competitive about it.
Mhm.
But I feel like at a baseline, my existence is like, why can't we all just hang out and have fun
Mhm.
together? And I really just like relished in the fact here that like one, I really didn't think I was gonna win. Like
Mhm.
I was just like, I just want to finish. Like that's my only goal. And I really I feel like through this whole trail running experience, refined my ability to just like be alone with myself
Mhm.
and just be like, yep, we're just here. And just like be present and like be able to just be there. And like having other people around me, like Andy, like you, is just like an added bonus for me. Like I don't need it to finish, but
Mhm.
it makes it much more enjoyable to do so.
Mhm.
Mostly because I love to talk and I love to have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And hopefully someone to talk back to me, which Ben and I did reach a whole new level of Ben becoming like my friend because you started actually talking to me on lap 3.
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
not like on
Unprompted.
yeah.
Yep.
Eh,
Usually I'm more of a responder.
Yeah, you were like having active conversations with me at like
Mhm.
lap 3 and I was
Well,
like
I felt it was my responsibility as your pacer to, get in the zone of your race, not necessarily my race, which would be silent.
which would be Juliana, shut up.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, luckily for you, I'm not pacing you through Jigger Johnson this year specifically.
No, safety first.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, the competition side of things, I wasn't really going into it thinking I was gonna be competitive.
mhm.
Like it's nice if that was like with this, like it was a side effect
Mhm.
more or less. But I just was looking to have like the most positive experience I possibly could for that day, whatever that played out to be. And just trying to manage expectations and be like, Juliana, this is your first ultra you've ever run. Like, let's not be greedy or overambitious and just kind of
Mhm.
like my pacing, try and be consistent and just like get through like in a way that feels like pleasant to me, so I can come away from it being like, that was a nice time.
That's so different from my approach. I think I burned all my matches in the first 3 miles, and it's like, okay, how do I get home again? You know, I signed up for my first race after a couple beers, and like I didn't look at the altitude profile, and I got there and was like, well, let's book it. I feel fast today.
I
I
feel
went out
fast
as
today.
like the top four in like the first climb, and I ended up finishing middle of the pack after slogging it in for the next 40 miles. But like, I don't know, it's just a really different approach. I think it actually like you were very encouraging of the runners around you, and I think it actually worked competitively in your favor because it kind of messed with their heads. They were like,
Probably.
"Wait, why is that person so encouraging right now?" And it distracted them a little bit. But
I definitely know that I have like, because you know me, Ben, when we get to like the later miles, I'm still the person who's like, what's going on, friends? How are you doing? Hi.
yeah, I think that really messed with them.
It definitely does. Like I've been in other races too, like other marathons where like I hit people up at like mile 22 or 23. I'm like, how you doing? And they're like, go the fuck away. I'm like, and they look at me like they want to murder me
Yeah, and they
because,
kind of drop back to let
yeah.
you pass. Yeah.
Well, they look at me like they want to murder me because I can tell that they're like, I'm hurting so bad right now. And
Mhm.
this girl just popped up next to me being like, hello.
Yeah.
And like, for me, the thing is like, that's how I get myself out of my head and out of the pain cave.
Mm.
Is like, I can be in a lot of pain, but if I can mentally like remove myself from my own pain,
Mhm.
then I can, and like find something to latch onto, like a
Mhm.
person, then
Mhm.
I can get myself out of that zone and finish.
Mhm.
Like I can be having like a lot of GI issues and like have a lot of hip pain, but as soon as I see someone else who wants to talk to me, I'm good
Mhm.
because that my brain can only focus on so many things at once.
Mhm.
And so, and then we get to the finish line, and then I am to the porta potty for a long time. But
Mhm.
we don't only have to take one emergency shit break, which was good.
Yeah, I think honestly it was pretty impressive in two senses of the word. One, like the casualness with which you could pull it off. You just quick deviation in the woods. But
Yeah,
also
yeah,
I think like you were in the like here's my question is you were
hmm
in the top 10 at that point and
yeah.
you had
We had
two
some
people
people.
right behind you, like
Yeah,
maybe a minute back, and
yeah.
you took a break into the woods and those two people passed and I asked you if you wanted to chase them down again. You just said, "No, I'm going to finish at the exact same pace I've been
hmm
running."
Yeah.
Like what was going through your head right then?
I was just like so happy to be there. Like you asked me, and this was in the other recap episode that I did because you captured it on audio.
Mhm.
Like how I was feeling in the moment, and I said like present and thankful, and like that's exactly how I was feeling like the whole lap because like
Yeah.
I know my body well enough where like I'm not guaranteed to even get that far.
Mhm.
Like I didn't know what was going to happen when I got to like 27, 28,
Mhm.
29 miles. Like I'm not guaranteed anything like that. And I know that my body can just like hit the shitter like within like minutes and just like boom, and I'm just gonna like
Mhm.
bleh, and
Mhm.
that's it. Like I can end up with a colon blockage or I can end up with like some kind of muscle thing, and it's just like the race can go from like here to here like real freaking fast.
Yeah.
And
So,
so
quick aside, for folks who don't know, can you give us like a
like a medical
TLDR of,
medical history real
medical
quick.
history? Yeah.
Yeah, so I have ankylosing spondylitis, which is the hip issues and like joint issues. So my joints are really tight, and my spine will eventually fuse together, and I'll become the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And
We'll get you fused in like an interesting position so you could
yeah,
stay
and
there.
you'd be like, "Meh." um, but and then I have just recently diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos, which means that my ligaments are really loose. So I have tight muscles and joints, but loose ligaments. So the ligaments are like, blah, and the muscles like, no. And then I also have irritable bowel disease with a colon resection. So we have a lot of GI issues just happening. So there's a lot of things at play.
Hmm.
And just managing all of those is like an interesting conundrum
Yeah.
sometimes.
You did no solid fuel, is my understanding.
Yeah, and I did
Liquids only.
yeah, I
Is
did
that pretty
liquids the day
standard?
before too.
Hmm.
This is the first time I've done liquids the full day before
Hmm.
too. And honestly, because the thing is like
How can
anytime
you
I
possibly get enough calories that way? Like, just my mind is blown.
just like eating like I have like protein powders and stuff that I'll do and
Hmm.
like just kind of like sipping on shit throughout the entire day pretty
So it's
much.
not like necessarily just liquids. We're talking about a viscous mix of many different things in an aqueous solution. I'm
Yes.
using a lot of big words to basically
Yes.
say it was all dissolved in water.
Yeah, some kind of
Okay.
like shaky doodads or like
Hmm.
either like liquids like say like drink mixes and stuff like the
Hmm.
drip drop, well, there's stuff of that variety, or like things that are like liquids, like yogurts,
Got it. Got it. Got it.
like
Okay.
uh, ice creams, like things I like.
So everything's been reduced to a liquid consistency, but there is actually like a full nutrient profile
Yeah,
going
there's
out.
like
Okay.
I make
I was
sure that
confused
we're
about that.
yeah, we make sure that we hit the protein and the fat goals along with the carb goals too. And yeah, this is the first time where I did like viscous solutions,
Mm-hmm.
viscous items the full day before.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, like, every time I've like done a long run that's over like 20 miles, we
Mm-hmm.
have some kind of bathroom thing happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some kind of GI movement that happens.
You just take it for granted. It's gonna come.
Yeah, I have to expect it. And
Mm-hmm.
like it just is a less time consuming and like just mentally and physically consuming thing if it's just like you can just
Yeah.
go through my system. And reduces the amount of the percentage that I'm going to get a GI blockage too, because there's nothing like solid to stick it in there.
I feel this way about falling. I've already fallen. I'm just waiting to find out how.
How you're going to fall?
Yes.
Yeah, I've already taken a shit. I'm just waiting to figure out how and when. In that bush that was around like what, like mile like 29 or something, where I was like, emergency shit break, and it just pulled over and just like
Well, I
kept
think,
going.
it's interesting because that's a lot of people's worst fear is that they're going to have to poop in the woods. And, you're clearly a professional at this. So
I've found so much freedom, honestly, with like going like because here's the thing, like I've known I've had GI issues since I was a kid. I've known I've had severe GI issues since I was like 20. And obviously I have a colon resection, so like we've had like bad GI issues for a while.
Mhm.
I know that I'm gonna have to stop and use the bathroom, like no matter what run I go on.
So, like, what's the procedure? Like, for folks who've never had to do this and are terrified, and maybe this is what's holding them back from doing longer races, like, what do you bring with you? Like, what are your words of advice?
I
Stay away
mean,
from poison ivy?
yeah,
Is
I
that
guess just like embrace that, like you're gonna be taking a shit in the
Mhm.
woods, and I mean, I always have toilet paper or a paper towel on me.
So, toilet paper, you must keep it in a bag or something to keep it dry.
Yes, we put toilet paper in a little bag, and it
Mhm.
goes inside of our go away phone. Goes inside of our little bag or
Mhm.
whatever. Now into my running backpack that I have.
Mhm.
It goes in
Yeah.
there. And then I always bring like I have a little tiny container of like butt cream,
Mhm.
which works really
Any
well.
particular brands you'd recommend?
Destin.
Destin.
Yeah, the Destin butt cream in the it's the quick action one
Mhm.
because that one will work in the moment and it'll
And that
provide
just
a little.
reduces chafing, or.
Yeah, it's honestly really great if you have chafing anywhere.
Mhm.
Like you can just use that stuff like anywhere that you have chafing. It's great.
That's wild. So, like, this thing that so many people build up in their mind, like, this is the
Mhm.
reason I can't be out for longer than whatever, or.
You too can take a shit in the woods.
Yeah, well, I think it's easy to think you're the only one doing it at the time, but, like.
No, there's no. Well, you have to think like if you're running like your 100 miler,
I
what is the percentage that every single person who's running the 100 miler will take at least one shit in the woods?
don't think it's got to be 100. It could be
Yeah,
like a 48, 50, like the 54-hour time limit means that you're out there for a couple days. So, yeah, it's pretty much a given. But,
yeah.
even in my own mind, like, oh, man, can you imagine the embarrassment? A little deviation on my Strava?
They knew I was taking a shit break there. No,
Oh,
I think
man.
it's I mean, when I trained for my first marathon, like I had my first like bathroom emergency where I just like ended up like pulling over and taking like a pretty big shit into the into a place on the side of the road up in North Falmouth. And I just like because it was
Hmm.
just it was gonna happen. I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
there's no way around it.
Yeah. And the thing is I was so embarrassed by it and I didn't tell anyone until I started talking to some other friends who were marathon training and they immediately
Yeah, we all have a story.
yeah, every single person had a shit story. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's not just
Yep.
me. And it just happens to me more frequently. And
Yep.
like I would say in a way it's kind of a blessing. It's just more predictable to me.
Exactly.
Like I know it's going to happen. So like doing like
Right.
the viscous solutions, it just makes it like I can plan
Right.
a little bit.
Right. And so, like, I never run with toilet paper. So
I always run with
in the
toilet
case of, my shit story, it happened to me on top of a mountain. And the only thing I can recommend is birch leaves. The underside of birch leaves is pretty good. But watch out for the top side because all the stuff settles down on them.
Ooh, yuck, 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 yuck,
And I
yuck,
think
yuck.
oak leaves are a little too, I don't know,
A little
maple
too
leaves, wrong
bristle.
shape. But a good birch leaf is the best you can do.
And this has been Survival 101 with Ben.
Yeah.
How to wipe your ass in the woods and
Yeah.
not get a diaper rash.
Yeah. Um,
Birch leaves. That's really the solution right
yeah, but
there.
you're totally right. Like if I had to do it every time I ran, I would just be prepared and not surprised, and it wouldn't be so traumatic. And I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who could probably go for different or longer runs, and probably trail running is really actually easier that way because
I
you're in the woods.
I found such a freedom in the fact that like I can just pull over and take a shit in the woods. Like
Hmm.
it's so nice because like most of the time you're either like with like just one other person or you're by yourself. And so
Hmm.
you can kind of just like be like, yep,
I'm gonna go 20 feet that way and
yeah, I'm just gonna
do my
pull off
thing.
into a bush. Like my only rule is to try not to do indecent exposure around other humans if you don't have to, and you don't poop in the middle of the trail.
Right.
Like don't poop where anyone's gonna step. Like just or whatever you're gonna pee, whatever. Like just don't do it where everyone's gonna
Yeah.
step.
Best
Just
practices would probably dig a hole, but we're nitpicking now.
yeah. Well, as the winner of the Watuppa 50K for the
Hmm.
ladies, like time was clearly on. Like I was
Yep.
really thinking about
Totally.
that, so I wasn't gonna be digging any holes.
So you came back from that, and
Yeah.
you had about 4 miles to go, maybe. And I asked if
Hmm.
you wanted to push, and you said
No,
no.
no. I was just like,
What was going through your mind?
just happy to be there.
Yeah.
Just like so grateful that like I was even able to like get to that point.
Yeah.
And again, like things are not guaranteed to me in any capacity. They're not guaranteed to anyone, but like I've been taught that many times
Yeah.
through my chronic illness and stuff. But like I was just so thankful to be there, and I was just like so thankful that the day had turned out better than I anticipated because like
Hmm.
it like torrentially downpoured the day before.
Yeah. There was a lot of water on the trail, but it was pretty well managed, as you mentioned. Pretty
Hmm.
well
Yeah, it drained
cleared.
very well, and like I'm very surprised that I didn't get any blisters on my feet, to be
Hmm.
honest. I mean, I Vaselined them up like I normally do, and I had my like merino wool socks on, but like there
Yeah.
was a lot of like moisture
Yep.
happening. But yeah, I was just so thankful for that, and like the fact that like you and Nicole came out
Yeah.
and
We had
like
a good time.
cheered me on, and Nicole's cheering me on, and you were pacing me. Like I live by the kind of like again with the thought of like I'm not guaranteed anything,
Hmm.
and that no one has to do anything for me, and it's nice if like it like I didn't like I don't think I did like pressure you super bad into like coming. I was like, this is what I'm doing, Ben.
No.
And you're like, okay. And I was like, if you show up, you show up. And you were like, okay.
No, the only question I had was whether it would interfere with wedding or wedding planning. And
Yeah.
when Nicole said to me like a couple days before, like, "Hey, do you think we should go support Juliana's race?" It's like, yes,
Yeah, maybe we
that's the
should.
run I would like to do that morning.
Yeah. And it was much appreciated that you came
No,
out and
our
paced me.
pleasure, our pleasure.
Yeah. It was so nice. And I was just like so thankful to have you there, and just like you and Nicole also like documented a lot of the race too,
Yeah,
which like I wouldn't have had. Like I know I just saw
watching
the
this
little
little
friend up
guy,
there.
our little friend.
Whoop. He's slowly floating down towards the ground.
We've got these little inchworms coming down from the
Woo!
trees up above.
It's raining worms. But
That's a good song.
it's raining worms. Hallelujah.
Let's start the episode off with that. Well, I think it goes back to a piece of advice I've received a lot, which is just to run your own race, to like not worry much. It's not a team sport. Like it literally has nothing to do with you what the person next to you is doing. You have
Yeah.
no idea what their pacing strategy is, and
Yeah, you
frankly, you're more likely to balk, I think, because you're trying to pace off other people.
mhm.
That's exactly what happened to me. I like chased the leaders off the start and got to the first climb and my hamstring seized up in a mud puddle like 18 inches deep, and I'm just like, is this where I die? Is this the end?
Is this where Benzemore meets his match?
Yeah, and just I don't know.
Dying in mud. You never
I
know.
feel like that's something I often struggle to remember, is that just because I see people around me does not mean they're involved.
They're not in your head too.
No.
They're not running your race. You're running your race.
Only way it can be. And if I start to pace myself off other people around me, I think I'm more likely to cause problems. And so
Hmm.
that's definitely something I want to hold on to, is just you won your race with zero cares about placement, where you were. You had incorrect knowledge of where you were in the race and
Yes,
still
thanks to
made the
you.
decisions you did. Yep. No, it was
I
not a strategy.
I inaccurately trusted Ben's opinion that we were in third, because I remember the conversation was more or
Yeah.
less along the lines of me being like, I think we're in first, and you'd be like, no, we're in third, and me be like, I think we're in first, and you'd be like, no, I think we're in third, and me be like, okay, fine, I trust you. You were at the aid station.
And then changed your decisions? Not at all.
It did. They made absolutely no consequences.
Yeah.
I had no desire to either speed up or slow down. I was just like
Hmm.
trying to hit that good metronome pace of just like keeping it moving, just like keeping the clockwork
Hmm.
going, and it worked out, you know. Eh.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting strategy. Like, everything I'm training for is a negative split, just to run the second half faster than the first half, a
Uh-huh.
little bit to get that competitive advantage, to
Yeah.
be running faster when I pass people, hopefully, um,
Most people fade towards the end.
or to know what my capabilities are in the race before I make
Mhm.
the effort to push, rather than running the first half really fast and then
Mhm.
slugging in the back half, which is how my first couple ultras went.
Clearly not the most effective strategy.
No, clearly not. But I'm a big fail till you make it.
Yes, I know.
Failure rate of success kind of person. So
Hit the wall and then bounce off the wall a little bit and then reevaluate and then maybe hit the wall
yeah,
again and then
yeah,
just like keep moving until you hit a wall, and then once you hit that wall, like be like, if I hit the wall harder next time, it will break.
yeah. My first 250s end with at least 14 miles of hiking at the end. I have nothing left.
Just like
Um,
power hiking, probably not as slow as that guy who got kicked off the Cocodona course when he was going like 1.4 miles an
mm.
hour.
Well, you saw the mud. I mean, that was some sticky stuff.
Yeah.
The mud on this course was nothing like that.
No, no, no. It was nice and like crisp mud.
Yeah.
It was just it was easy to move through. There were just like little bits where there were like streams where you just kind of had to like accept that your feet were going to get wet.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that was really the most challenging part of it, which if we're even going to call it a challenge on that course, was just the fact that like there were spots where you knew you were going to get wet.
I know you like the deviates, but knowing the amount of water, do you think you'd go back for a GTX shoe?
Um, Maybe. I mean, again, I didn't get any blisters,
Yeah.
so
So the moisture being in the shoe didn't really matter.
not really.
I'm so curious whether the GTX shoe is kind of a red herring. People thinking they
Yeah,
don't want to get their feet wet, but actually getting their feet much more moist from the
from the
condensation in the
sweating.
shoes. All
Yeah.
that sweat's just running down your body constantly. So unless you have the world's greatest gaiter, there's no way to keep it out of the shoe.
Well, I know when I get moving, my feet sweat. Like you see it
Yeah,
in the
sure. There are even pores in your feet that are going to sweat, as you say.
well, I mean, the Ultra Lone Peaks, like they clearly changed. They change full color when I get them
Juliana has this pair of blue ultras that like glisten and shimmer in the sun.
when
And
they are sweaty.
at first I thought it was the shoe, but it turns out it's the
It's
sweat.
sweat. It's sweat. It's definitely sweat. They change color. They turn a little bit more purple, and they like glow like a
It's like one of those
gemstone.
heat active spoons. Did you ever
Yeah.
have one of those as a kid?
Yeah. I used to get those in the cereal boxes,
Yep.
and they had like cat dog or something on
Yep.
them.
Yep. Yep.
That was a fun time. But yeah, no, my strategy was just like kind of just like keep moving at my
Mhm.
own pace, and like I can only run my own race,
Yeah.
and just make it happen. I just wanted to finish, like you said.
Well, so clearly it worked enough
I
that
did
you
finish.
got the wood and the stump.
Uh-huh. Yep, I won my wood and I won my stump.
What does it make you think going forward? What are your goals?
I mean, I definitely would like to take on the 50K distance again,
Hmm. It's
but
kind of fun, right?
yeah, I think it's a good distance for me. I really like being, like we talked about, in that like 70 to 80 mile training run
Hmm.
range. Like
Hmm.
that feels good to me.
Yep.
And I just have a body too, and like people with ankylosing spondylitis also. There are actually a fair few number of like 200 to 300 regular mile like ultra runners
Hmm.
who have AS. Just because more or less is like motion is lotion. The more you keep moving, the longer you can keep moving. And the more you sit, like the more you're like not active, the faster your spine compresses.
Interesting.
So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Like the science is a little bit behind it, and like the people are behind it, and
Hmm.
like what my body's telling me is behind it. So I'm like, oh, that's a nice time.
Okay, so the 50K distance works well. You got any
Yeah,
other goals coming up?
I am thinking about that 50 miler.
Starting to think about that 50 miler, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it when we finished the
Yeah.
50K, which is also a dangerous place to be in when you finish like the longest race you've ever run and be like, I could run further.
Yep. Yep.
You are full on delusional when that happens.
Okay, you're just well prepared.
Yeah.
I think if you're doing 80-mile weeks, there's no reason you can't do 50 miles.
Yeah, I think I'd like to try it at least, and I definitely would like to try the 50K distance at a more challenging terrain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I feel like that's my the next step up is either going to be like the 50 miler, which probably seems like the next step forward, honestly, just given like the lineup of races that are upcoming, or like a more challenging 50K. So, because that was not like a super challenging course at all, but like it definitely was a trail race. So there's a fair amount of ups and downs, fair amount of like just like ins and outs and stuff like that, different terrains that we were running on.
Do you think
But
you'd ever take on a mountain race?
I think I'm probably going to end up pacing you for some of your mountain race at some point. So, and then we'll see how I'm feeling about that after.
Yeah.
We will be introducing trekking poles potentially this week.
Yeah, I think so. I had a pacer in my first mountain race, and like I was not prepared for it, but she fell, and I left that race thinking like taking responsibility for yourself in the mountains is one thing, but taking responsibility for a team is like a multi-dimensional challenge.
Yeah.
And that's my number one goal, is that if anybody's going to come with me, they'd just be really safe.
Yeah.
And I think there's also, like I said, you've already fallen. You're just waiting to find out when it was.
I'm constantly waiting to find out when my next fall is. We know I will say, when we'll put this on record too, I did not fall at all during this 50K, but Ben almost ate shit twice. And it was very fun because I was behind him both times.
I caught a toe on this route. The one I remember you're talking about is I caught a toe on this route, like about to head back to the end of the first lap, and I just airplaned for about 15 feet before I regained my balance. Yep, arms out, everything, windmills.
I was honestly impressed that I didn't, because there was that weird like Rudy section right at the end. And as we passed through the first lap, I was like, oh no, this is going to be the very last, because it's like right before that field. And I was like, this is good. This could be dicey if I'm not in a good spot.
I think it proves my point that like the pacers are really the ones at risk. They're the ones not like fully present.
Yeah, because they're a little bit on autopilot as opposed to like a little more dialed in.
Not even autopilot, but a little bit distracted. You're thinking about the person you're running with. You know, it's like if you were very competitive and you're only thinking about the people around you, you're only thinking about the other person behind or next to you or in front of you. And yeah, it was something I've seen with pacers running with me, but it was then something I experienced as a pacer running with you, that like, oh, I almost see.
And I am a little bit checked out because I'm like, where's Juliana? What's going on? Is she okay? What's happening? Yeah, I could see myself getting into the same like mindset if I was pacing someone too. And like I've definitely done that when I'm like pacing someone on like shorter runs, like road runs, but like I just get, as you might expect, distracted by what's going on around me and being like, is this person okay? What's going on? Like checking in with them, being like, hey, do you need anything? Yeah. So, but I feel like you did a very good job pacing, Ben.
Thanks.
I had a nice time and I was very thankful to have you there. And it just made the last like 3 laps just go by so much faster because we were talking and like having a nice time and just enjoying being out running.
That's the other thing, is I get a little nauseous with sound, like late in the race. Like I don't need any sounds at all, or I feel like I'm going to throw up. So
if I pace you, we put me at the beginning of the race then. Or
see, I was just thinking we'd focus on like mindful silence, but yeah, you're right.
We could do that too.
Probably the only way would be the beginning of the race.
We could focus on mindful silence. We got a little pill bug. Mindful silence at the end of the race too. I'm getting a little bit better at that, I feel like, because
we're coming out somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, when I am running by myself, I'm silent. Like I don't say anything except for when I'm singing.
Or you pass anyone.
Yeah, I go, hi, on your left. Scream at someone, which it is funny because that's actually how Andy and I initially met. So the origin story of this, and Andy is my current boyfriend right now, which is wild that Juliana's boyfriend. This is a wild time, but
this show is really becoming multidimensional.
Yeah, this show is becoming multidimensional, but we met at 26 Point True in passing and then connected afterwards. But how we met is I was passing him and I yelled, on your left! And yeah, I was like...
And he really liked that?
He loved it, you know? Big fan.
Yep.
He's like, wow, I can't wait to get more of that.
You're a polite young woman. Oh,
she really is concerned for my safety. Isn't that great?
Andy seems like a great guy. Wishing you all the happiness in the world.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, he's a good dude. And he paced the first 10K, which is of this race, which is great. So
and stuck around for the rest of the race and the podium.
I know. I told him he didn't have to, and he's like, nope. Is
that when you knew?
Yeah. He's like, I am locked in, and I like this. I like that she yells. She is loud, and I like it.
Good listener, Andy.
Yeah, he honestly is, but yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, I don't know what we were talking about before that, but I got distracted.
I think just sound. I
Oh,
remember.
sound. You're
Yeah.
saying, yeah, that if you need someone that you want silence towards the end of the race.
Well, look, I mean, the only pacing available in Jigger Johnson is from the second half onwards, and so it's got to be the
Okay.
second 50 miles, which is honestly the worst part. But I think you also got to want to go up.
Yeah.
It's not the Cape. We did
Yeah.
maybe 100 vertical feet today, and
Yeah.
this is like a
Which
further
is
10,000.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I personally like even if I didn't have the Fountain for a race weekend stuff that
Mm-hmm.
weekend, like I don't feel physically prepared to take on pacing you for that just because
No,
of the strictly the terrain.
I'm not sure I'm physically prepared for this. I
Yeah.
mean, I think the like I've done 84% fewer vertical feet in the past year than the year before, and that wasn't even a year living in the mountains. And so
Yeah.
it's going to be a real question whether I can strength train here on the flat
Yeah.
for a mountain climbing race, and I'm honestly not sure, but
We'll find out.
we're going to find out
We'll
the
have you
hard
back on the
way.
podcast if you're still in one piece
If
one
I'm
after.
still around in September, I can come back on the
If Ben has
podcast.
not been deceased and
Yep.
we're not carrying him around in a matchbox,
Hmm.
then we will
Yep.
have you back to talk about that. But yeah, it definitely, I mean, I get where you're coming from too. It's hard to find that, like, especially after just doing one of your runs that
Hmm.
you recommended up in Williamstown. Like,
Hmm.
I'm like, yes, this is a completely different beast
Hmm.
when it comes to,
Yeah.
uh, when it comes to that. But
Yeah,
there,
brief pitch for Williamstown. It's a great place to run.
yeah, I mean, it's stunning, absolutely gorgeous too. So,
Northwest corner, Massachusetts, wonderful rural roads, not a lot of cars, and as soon as you
mhm,
get into Vermont, the roads start to undulate. They're not crowned
mhm,
anymore. And if you've never run on an undulating versus a crowned road, the difference for your ankles and knees is just miraculous. Like
mhm,
you suddenly go from the edge of a slope surface where you're always running on the same slant to,
mhm,
winding back and forth. And it's just really pleasant to go long miles. So,
yeah,
Williamstown, Pownell, Vermont,
mhm.
south of Bennington, really fantastic place. Great food, nice people.
Is that the town that was
That's
right?
where you ran into. When you
Yes.
crossed the border, you were in Pownell, which is kind of a town. It's more of a township. It's the
Okay.
unincorporated area south of Bennington.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't even realize it was taking me into Vermont
mhm,
until after, like, I think like Sunday, I looked at back at my run and I was like, oh,
that's what that dotted line was.
I was in Vermont.
Yeah.
Cool. You know,
And
like,
just a few miles to the west would have been New York, too. So a lot of
oh,
runs up there. If you loop around the mountains, go over to Petersburg, you can do 3 states in an
mm,
afternoon.
wow.
That Taconic Crest Trail is really worth it.
Okay.
And that'll do all 3 states for sure. You can do New York back to Vermont, Massachusetts back to New York and back.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I had a nice time. I love an up and down. I love going up and I don't
Mhm.
really love coming back down quite as much, but like, just because my footing is not the best for that, but you
Yeah,
know,
descending is hard.
yeah, people are always talking about how hard it is to like do the climbs, and I'm like, no, 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 no.
Hmm.
Especially for Juliana, the descent is way, way
Yeah,
worse. Like
descents are deceptive.
I when I was running that route, I was running up like the steep inclines, and I in my head the whole time I was thinking, I was like, shit, we got to come back down this.
Hmm.
This is gonna be like
Hmm.
an interesting downhill of us just like barreling down the hill here.
That's really what I'm hoping the trekking poles even out is all those stabilizers.
Yeah,
All that extra work that your little muscles are doing is
yeah, kind of keep
so
you from like
it's a good reminder. Don't let me forget to lend you those on the way out.
Oh yeah, yeah. That way I can get them kind of situated.
Hmm.
So if we go up and down the power lines this
Yep.
weekend, I
Yep.
can test them out and see what we think.
Well, last question. You got some new ink recently. You want to show it off?
Oh, my ink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my. You see if you guys can see my. We got a Teletubby tattoo right there.
And the significance of the Teletubby?
I am one of 4 children,
Hmm.
and we each had an assigned Teletubby as a child.
Excellent.
I am Tinky Winky. I am a gay icon. I am. So, because we just went in order of like height and
Hmm.
like age. So,
Hmm.
like Tinky Winky's the tallest, so we
Hmm.
assumed the oldest or
Hmm.
whatever, most mature. And then we just kind of worked our way down.
Nice.
I mean, the nice thing for me is purple is my favorite color, so
Hmm.
you know. And again, Tinky Winky with his little pink purse
Hmm.
is a queer icon. So, you know, big fan.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, and that was on en route to Ben and Nicole's wedding.
Hmm.
So,
I love that you just popped off for a tattoo on
Yeah.
on the road, and they got right back there for welcome drinks. No
Yeah,
problem.
there were two stories about me when I showed up. One that Ben was salty about my ultra win, and two that I had popped off the road to get a tattoo on the way there. I was like, good, I'm glad my
It's a
lore has
good way to make
followed.
an entrance.
Honestly,
Purse first.
first for all of our Bob the Drag Queen fans out there. Oh my God, but my best friend Jeff told me that like could have my purse first moment too. I was like, yes, living my best life over here.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was really good experience running my first 50K.
Mhm.
I would highly recommend, like, if you want a first 50K, the Watuppa 50K was really great, very well organized. The staff there was really kind,
The
and
pickle juice was ample.
yeah, there's plenty of pickle juice. They had like it at the ready to rock and roll. Yeah, it was just a nice time. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely feel like I've fallen into a sweet spot with like wanting to do more ultra running and stuff
That's awesome.
too. So it doesn't hurt that I have you, Ben, too, who is like
Yeah.
ever so slightly crazier than I am. And so it kind of like, and then we have Chris Risco in the background being like, you should all run ultras. So and then Aubrey, who seems to just be like, I'll run an ultra with you guys. So
Yeah, I think we casually convinced Aubrey to run an ultra this morning.
he's just a casual 50 miler because he
Yep.
was very much so.
He's been looking for a race.
Yeah, he said he was going to go and flirt with ultra sign up later
Yeah,
today.
well, now that we put it in the podcast, you know, he'll
Yeah.
probably
I'll have him on here at some point too.
that'd be awesome.
It'll be a nice time. But yeah, I feel like it's great.
Anything else you want to cover before we wrap?
No, I think just like thank you again to you,
My
Ben.
pleasure.
Not only just for like the interview, but also for pacing me.
Any excuse to run in the woods.
Yeah, it's a good excuse to have, you know. And shout out to Nicole as well too for coming out and cheering and bringing her whole clipboard of signs that she made for me, and
The
like
best mental performance coach there is.
that's my favorite mental performance coach of all time. 10 out of 10. Would recommend Nicole. We'll put her link in the description down below, so if anyone wants to hit her up. Good time.
All right. Well,
okay.
That's it for Runnah, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye, friends. At the end. Woo! Nice
That's
job,
right.
Ben. That was great.
Yeah.
I think you did a great job.
Yeah, great setting.
Yeah.
These guys are really popping off for us.
Yeah, they were like, we knew we were going to be on camera today. Thank you for listening to this episode of Runnah. This podcast is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Juliana Coughlin. Brought to you in part by the Falmouth Running Club and the Falmouth Community TV station. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram and on TikTok at RunnahPod. And you can send us an email at runnahpod@gmail.com. And our original theme music was brought to you by the one and the only wonderful Jeffrey Hutton. And keep up the great work. I'm proud of you. There we go. And how do I want to sit here? That's the question.
Do you feel comfortable?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, it's a beach chair in a yard, so you get what you get, but
I'll probably adjust myself as we go through, just kind of like chesting out. Do I want to sit like this? Do I want to like really just like look super cash, you know?
Yeah, that's probably that's probably the most comfortable. Definitely.
No question.
Yeah, we may get some visitors in the bush behind us.
Yeah, get some buggies. They're already there.
Where's the liquids?
Get some liquids in your system. The drip drop one was pretty good, actually. I like that. Slightly.
I think part of that might be the fact that you stirred it in.
Possibly, and I didn't shake it in. Gotta do that good shakety shake.
I did not. I did not care for the drip drop.
I like the watermelon one. I can't speak for the other flavors, but
I
like
found it difficult to mix correctly.
I will say it was a little bit grainy.
Mm.
Ugh, now we gotta get out of the chairs that are like super close to the ground. This is the problem.
This is the problem.
Oh, especially when you get old.